right. Well, hi, Carol. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
That's fine, Sarah.
So,
Looking forward to it.
thank you. I thought maybe today we could just talk a little bit about what brought you to your hypnotherapy appointment and how the session went, and then beyond that, what your experience was.
Right.
So let's start with, the beginning. So, what
Yes.
inspired you to make an appointment?
I have been listening to your voice for several years. I've done a mindfulness session here in Australia, which I found useful, but not as useful as working with you.
Okay.
Um, I've had a long interest in psychology. I've studied it myself, and I felt that I understood with my head the changes I needed to make, but I wasn't able to actually make that work emotionally. When you've got your head and your heart in conflict, your head nearly always seems to win, I find. So anyway, after doing lots and lots of listening to you, I felt that we were on the same wavelength. And when I saw the opportunity to have a hypnotherapy session with you, I thought, wow, that might be just what I need. And I
Great.
think it has proved to be so.
That's great. Yeah, I think that, people find me a lot through the YouTube channel, but like you said, having experience listening to my voice, you were already comfortable and you already felt safe with that experience. So I think that, you're a step ahead of the game when you come to me already, feeling like you know me, or you are comfortable with my voice. So
Yes.
that seems to help.
Actually, you will laugh when I say this, but I only need to hear your voice and my whole body goes, oh.
I think that's part of what they call environmental conditioning, right? It's
Oh, definitely
like
conditioning.
the Pavlovian response, right? You
Yes.
hear the noise of the bell and you come for dinner.
Right, or Skinner and his dogs, yes.
Right. Oh, I always get those mixed up. But yes, I'm glad that you have that experience and that benefit of the relaxation. So that's great to hear. So if you're comfortable with it, would you talk a little bit about uh, why you came to see me? So what the issue was that you
Oh,
were hoping to work on?
certainly. I think probably I've always been a person who's had a certain amount of problem with tension. I'm a high achiever. I push myself. Um, I can turn my life into a series of to-do lists if I'm not very careful. I'm much better at doing than being, though I'm getting a lot better at being now. And what was I answering then?
So you were sharing with me what the issue
Oh,
was
yeah,
that
the
you were hoping
issues.
to
Sorry,
work.
yes.
No problem.
Anyway, the specific issues that have arisen is that my husband has unfortunately been diagnosed 3 or 4 years ago, and he has a very nasty form of Parkinson's disease, and he has deteriorated to the point where I am his full-time carer. He can barely get in and out of a shower on his own. I have to chop all his food up very small, and he requires somebody to be with him nearly all the time for his safety and well-being.
Sure.
And I was finding this restriction of my freedoms, particularly at this stage of my life, when I'd always thought that once I'd finished work, the world was my oyster. I'd be able to virtually do as I wanted. And I had been doing that for several years before this happened. I found that I was having a lot of tension, and I was aware somehow that there was a huge conflict within me. I loved my husband. I wanted to care for him, but I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
Sure.
And some days I'd be all bright and sparky and I'd manage to get it together. And another day I'd feel so depressed. I'd think, well, how long do I have to keep on doing this? What's the point of living like this, etc., etc. So feeling thoroughly sorry for myself, which didn't do any good at all. And one day I was listening to one of your meditations and I thought, this has to stop. And I realised that it was because my conscious and subconscious were fighting each other. And I felt that you were the one who might be able to get my subconscious to change. So
Sure.
that's basically my issue.
Yeah, that's a really great way of, boiling down your situation into such a concise image. Your subconscious and your conscious were fighting with each other, and that can be so, it can cause so much suffering in your world. And I'm sorry that you're experiencing that.
Yes, well, when you realise that you're partially anyway, creating your own suffering, obviously the only thing that's going to change it is to change yourself and your way of thinking and your subconscious perspective on things.
Right, right. And another, you were a step ahead of the game in another way, in that you made the choice to change. And I always say that that's the first step in making a change, is to choose to make a change. So
Yes,
you were,
definitely.
you were being proactive on that note.
Yes. And I
Uh,
really enjoyed our session together. It might sound funny to say I was enjoying it, but I did, because I had a sense of relief that I'd found some answers.
sure.
And you're a very good listener, but you're also a very good person for guiding.
Mm.
And I already trusted you, so that helped me a lot.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Would you be comfortable telling me, or telling our audience, I guess, a little bit more about your experience with the session? Okay.
Yes, certainly. I could feel, well, at the beginning, we were just sort of establishing the problems and what I was hoping to achieve and all that sort of thing. And it's very comfortable talking with somebody that you feel's on the same wavelength. And then you were kind enough to share a little bit of your own personal experience with this situation.
Yes.
Which made me feel that you really understood where I was coming from. And I think you led me very skillfully to see that I actually had made a choice. I think I was telling myself that this had happened to me, not that I'd made a choice about it. And once I realised that I made a choice, then the big step for me has been accepting. Accepting my reality as it is on a day-to-day basis, and not thinking all the time when this is over.
Sure.
Accepting that this is fine, it's okay now. And that was a huge leap for me. And I think that's probably the one word, if I have to say anything about our talk together, I would say that you led me to understand something I'd probably been resisting like anything, was that I just had to accept that, hey, this is all right. I can live this life. I can be happy. I can manage to go on like this.
Right. Yeah, I have that conversation a lot when, like you said, when we resist our reality, it's creating another layer of suffering that's unnecessary. And I think a lot of times people think that acceptance is as if you're playing the victim card, and you're like, okay, I'm throwing my hands up in the air, I'm giving up.
Yes.
But that's not at all what it is. And like you said, your ability to have acceptance seems like, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you're being present in your experience rather than wishing it was over, or wishing that it could change, and adding that extra layer of suffering.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And also, I found the recording that you made very, very helpful. I listened to it every morning and sometimes at night as well for at least a month.
Great.
So it must be about 6 weeks ago we talked, or was it longer than that? My time perception's a bit skewy sometimes.
It all blurs together, and sometimes it feels like time is going so quickly, and other times like it's taking forever.
And anyway, I listened to it for at least the 4 weeks afterwards.
Right.
And then I felt it had really sunk in and that it had made a change. And I found another meditation, it was probably on YouTube, that I hadn't heard from you before about, I think it's called acceptance. I
Mm,
think the actual word is in the title. And then I found another one that was called patience, which just reinforces the same message from a slightly different angle. So
sure.
I've been listening to those two every day
Oh, great.
from
Great.
then on.
Yeah, the beauty of the recording with in this situation is that it's 100% personalized for
Personal,
you,
yeah,
right? So if somebody else listened to your recording, they probably wouldn't get anything out of it because it's not directly related to their excuse me, their beliefs about themselves and their own personal situation. So it's
that's
great.
right.
You know,
And
and
it's lovely because you used my name. So, I really felt as though you were there and you were talking to me,
yeah,
which
that
you
I
were.
did. I was speaking directly to you. And I think, your commitment to listening to the recording allowed the process to be that much more effective because even though, in our, let's say, 2-hour session, we do a lot of work uncovering beliefs that you formed about yourself long ago. We do work on letting go of those beliefs that are outdated and beginning to create new beliefs. But you really can't change make a permanent change in 2 hours, right? We need to
Oh,
have
no, no.
reinforcement, and your commitment to that really, I'm sure, made the whole experience more productive. So
Well, you also
pat
uncovered
yourself on the back.
something in, thank you. You also uncovered something in that session that I was totally unaware of, and that was my feeling of responsibility for other people's happiness.
Right, I
And
remember that interesting story that you came up with. I think there was a horse involved,
yes,
right?
that's right,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that was an interesting story. Sorry if you can hear my dogs. I think we
No,
must be
that's
getting
quite all right. I
a
love dogs.
delivery. um, yes, and I think that so often when I ask clients after the session, were you surprised at what you found? A lot of times the answer is yes, because we think about these issues that we're having, and logically, let's say we have tension or stress, we think, okay, well, I'm stressed and I have tension because of my current situation. However, and that might be true, it might be aggravating it, or bringing it on a little bit more. But when you start to look at the old habits and the old beliefs that are driving your experience today, that's when we can really start to see the patterns that, when you look back at other periods of your life when you maybe had tension and stress, now that you know the underlying cause, you could probably go back to those moments and say, oh, well, now I can see how those beliefs that I had when I was a child and growing up, they were directly causing all of these different scenarios. And oftentimes, you come to see me for tension and stress, and then other aspects of your life, improve as well. So that's really, one of the beautiful things about this practice. So yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So maybe you could share a little bit about any of the changes that you've noticed since the session, either in your behaviors or your beliefs or just your overall feelings.
Oh, yes, certainly. I think I feel as though I was like a piece of elastic or a spring
Hmm.
before that was tightly coiled, physically, emotionally, every way, even mentally, because it
Mm.
blocked other things in my life. And since I've started on this journey with you, I feel as though that spring or that elastic is just relaxed. And so my body is more relaxed, so I've got more energy. I'm emotionally, I'm more relaxed emotionally. I'm not as quickly drawn to tears or to anger as I
Mm.
had been before. I felt as I was always holding myself in check. now I'm feeling much more relaxed. And if I do start to slide off into tears or anger, I'm able to take a deep breath and say acceptance, acceptance, and just relax myself, and I get out of that moment.
Yeah.
I've started being interested in my patchwork again. If you probably can see on the desk behind me, there's a great pile of fabric. I didn't realise you could see that.
That's okay.
That's the beginning of
That's
my next project.
your beautiful artwork on the wall behind you too, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So, yes, and I have been inspired to get to putting into respite for 2 weeks. You were telling me about self-care, and I took that on board. And on the 1st of February, which is next Monday, he's going into an aged care facility for 2 weeks for respite care. And I'm going away to a girlfriend on the Gold Coast. And this is what my project's for, because she does patchwork too.
Oh,
so we're going to do patchwork together and have a lovely relaxed time.
Yeah, and you don't, like you said, you don't always have to be 100% responsible, and your husband is going to be cared for, and then you don't have to worry, and you can enjoy time for yourself, right?
Yes, I think that'll be wonderful. I haven't had a real break for more than, say, 2 nights in the last 2, probably nearly 3 years. So I really need it.
Yeah. As you had said, I shared a little bit of my personal story with you, and we were able to connect. And listening to your recounting of your experience, I saw a lot of this experience. My father has Parkinson's, and he was diagnosed many years ago. Let's see, it was right around the time that I got married, so almost 18 years. And
oh, really? Goodness.
but it sounds like maybe a slightly different form, where this was a slowly progressing.
Yes, no, this has been a really quick downhill slide, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I can see a lot of, what you're describing in my mom's emotions. And, my parents live with us. So I see all of this happening, and I can feel for you. And, we want the best for our family members. And
yes,
but we also, need to honor our own care. And, it's not, I always think that I'm being selfish if I take time for myself, but
same with me.
That's one of those beliefs I am working on myself.
Yes. Oh, well, we'll do it together.
Yes, that's right. We'll hold each other accountable. I like that.
Yes.
So if you could give any information or advice to someone who maybe is considering having a hypnotherapy session, but is on the fence, what would you tell them?
I would say go for it, but do it wholeheartedly. It's no good holding back. You are a person who can be trusted. The more you are given to work with, the more effective you can be. And so it's no good going into it and thinking, oh, well, I'll just have a little try and see how it works. You really need to be willing to open your heart and be really honest with yourself as well as with you. Yeah. And you really, really need to do the homework afterwards. You can't do that for us. We have to do it for ourselves.
That's true.
That's what I would say. And I'd say it's probably changed my life. It has definitely changed my life in many ways, and I'll always be grateful for it. And I definitely think it's a very worthwhile thing to do.
That is really, really great advice. And I'm glad that you offered that, because it's 100% true. The more that you put into the experience, the more you get out of it. And like you said, the really being honest, I think, is hard. And but you're absolutely right that if you can be honest and open, and let yourself split open, and all of you come come out, then you can really get more out of that experience for sure. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes.
And I'm really glad to hear that you feel it's changed your life for the better. So thank you for those kind words. And
It's my pleasure. I'm grateful that I can give back to you a little bit,
well, thank you. Yes.
because
It,
you've given a lot to me.
I feel that hearing stories and people's experience and progress is really, what keeps me going with my work. And, Les actually manages a lot of the comments on our website or our YouTube channel. And he says, Sarah, anytime that you're having a down day or you're feeling sad, you just need to read the comments on the YouTube channel. And he's right. It really, it's uplifting, and it reminds me why I'm in this business and why I do what I do. And so to hear your story and your progress and how this experience has helped you is really, I'm very, very appreciative and grateful to hear that. So I thank you.
That's a pleasure.
Is there anything else that you would like to add about your experience or your progress? Anything else you can think of?
Probably not. I think I've told you just about everything I can think of.
Yes.
I'll think
All
of
right.
something as soon as we're finished, of course. But
Sure. Well, as I said, I'm very grateful that you took the time to. We are on different sides of the world, so it's morning for you and evening for me, and it's my pleasure to hear from you, and I'm grateful. So thank you very much.
that's all right. And all the best for the future, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye for now.